On top of that, working almost every single day, getting no time off, getting treated not in a way I would prefer. I don't make enough money to survive. I make enough money to pay my bills and barely have anything left over.
Cost of living continues to rise. Wages are stagnant. This isn't rocket science. The blueprint to the American life and American dream 40, 50 years ago was sold much differently than it was now. Back in the day, wife, maybe a couple kids, house, car, one fucking job. Now, you can work a very prestigious corporate job and not even have anything left over.
The economy is no longer built on people growing wealth. It is now built on people just racking up as much debt as they possibly can.
The system is very broken. And now that the basic necessities and just things of life that normally should not be so freaking difficult to happen, such as buying a house, are extremely difficult. And even people with a dual income household with pretty decent jobs cannot afford it.
Our generation went to high school, went to college with the promise that if you go to school, get a great paying job, and then one day you'll be able to have your own home, have your own family. We were essentially sold a scheme that is no longer working, with jobs that are not covering all of our bills. So we're getting second jobs on the weekend when we're supposed to be relaxing, unwinding from our corporate job.
Forcing myself to do this week after week after week is just getting unbearable.
I am at work and working more than I am with my own two boys.
Everything is getting more expensive: food, gas, rent, and even healthcare. But wages aren't keeping up. Millions of people are feeling the pressure, living paycheck to paycheck, or falling into debt just to survive. The cost of living crisis is not just a momentary struggle, it's a full-blown economic disaster for working class and for middle class families. But why is this happening? Who is being hit the hardest? And most importantly, how are people adapting to this harsh reality? Good day, everyone. Today we're breaking it all down. Let's dive in. First off, the cost of living crisis happens when basic necessities like food, housing, energy, and transportation become unaffordable for the average person. Prices keep rising, but salaries have almost stayed the same. For example, the average grocery bill for a family of 4 was around 800 a month. In 2025, the same bill is well over 1,200. Rent in major cities have gone up by 30 to 50%, while wages have only increased about 3 to 5%. In simple terms, it costs way more to live, but people aren't earning much money. The gap is putting millions of families into financial distress. But why is this happening? Take a look at this video.
You can't convince me they're not lying about the inflation numbers.
Our economy currently is at a point that is worse than the Great Depression in comparison.
I wonder how they measured that.
They measured it by the housing market. They were measuring it by the price of food and groceries, and then just a stable living. And they compared it with the inflation from the Great Depression to now. It's actually worse.
You can't convince me they're not lying about the inflation numbers.
No.
Because they get to cherry pick what bucket they calculate inflation from.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that came out when I guess Biden was making his whole no, actually we've gotten inflation under control, they deliberately excluded housing affordability from the inflation calculators. Oh, don't worry, pencils haven't gone up in price, but a place to live is tripled. So, but other than that, no, there's really been no inflation. And if you say otherwise, you're crazy. Don't believe what.
This is why I feel like the cost of living has never been as bad as it is right now. Because it used to be when the cost of living was high, it was for the things that you need in life. Food, gas, shelter, etc. All those things cost a lot of money. Right now, all of those things still cost a lot of money. And also, I feel like it's just expensive to just be alive. I feel like my life, as soon as I wake up, is literally just me putting down a credit card. And it's just a tab. And life is a bartender. And it's just what are you going to have? And I'm just I'm okay. I don't really need anything today. And it's just oh, really? Well, if you're going to be here, you're going to need to spend money. And I'm just what do you mean here? I'm just in the world. And it's just yeah, you have to buy something now. It's even getting to the point where I feel like even my thoughts are getting expensive.
What's causing this crisis? Firstly, let's look at inflation and supply chain disruptions. Inflation is one of the biggest culprits. The pandemic caused massive supply chain disruptions. Factories shut down, shipping delays created shortages, and demand increased faster than supply. This made prices shoot up. Secondly, corporate price gouging. While inflation is real, some corporations have taken advantage of the situation to increase prices more than necessary. Grocery store chains raised prices even when their costs remained stable. In other words, they used inflation as an excuse to charge customers and make bigger profits. Thirdly, wage stagnation and housing crisis. While the cost of living has skyrocketed, wages have barely moved. The federal minimum wage hasn't increased, and many jobs pay enough just to cover basic needs. Housing cost is another major issue. In many cities, rent is rising at double or triple the rate of wage increases. Home ownership is becoming impossible for younger generations, forcing many into long-term renting or even living with family to save money. The result? More people struggling to pay rent, more evictions, and more homelessness. Who is suffering the most? The cost of living crisis is hitting some groups other than others, like the low-income families. Many are spending over 80% of their income on just food and rent. There's nothing left for savings or emergencies. The young adults and Gen Zs, home ownership is out of reach, and many are stuck in jobs that don't pay enough. The seniors on fixed incomes. The elderly are struggling to afford medicine, food, and basic needs. The middle class, even those who were once financially stable, are now feeling the pressure as expenses rise more than income. For many people, one expected expense, it could be a medical bill, car repair, or job loss, can send them into financial crisis. But how are people surviving after all this? Let's take a look at this video.
So this is not to be pessimistic, I'm just a realist. But do not feel bad for doing what you have to do in this economy. I've been seeing people post about how they had to give up their new car or how they had to go back to a 9-to-5 after doing entrepreneurship, move back in with their parents. And I know that it sucks. I just wanted to stress to you that it's not your fault. It's really the economy. As a millennial who lived through pre-pandemic and then now, it was totally different. Yes, I was able to pay off my car, but my car note was $300 a month. It was only $16,000 for a brand new car at that time. You can't find a brand new car for that price anywhere. Another thing too, when I was paying rent, it was $800 back in 2017, 2018. And that was for a 3-bedroom. That same apartment right now is $1,400 a month for a 1-bedroom. House prices, I could literally write an essay. I could write a book. The interest rates, of course, were way lower, but the house prices were not crazy. I bought my house for $165,000. The houses in my neighborhood right now are going for almost $300K, which is crazy. I say all that to say you can't take accountability for things that are just simply not your fault. Jobs are not paying that much. The economy is going up. Eggs are $31. So when it comes to doing what you have to do to survive in this economy, do not feel bad. It's just a sacrifice.
Average salary in the US is about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. Honestly, I have no idea how people are surviving. Let's just break it down real quick. That's about $4,500 after taxes each month. Average cost of rent in the US is about, and let's just be generous, $1,700 a month. That's not including groceries, household items, necessities, all that. Again, let's be generous and let's say that's about $300. Average gas bill every single month is about $70. The average electricity bill every single month is about $150. You also have the water bill. Say that's about $100 per month. You got your phone bill. Average phone bill comes out to about $141 a month. It's not including any of your expenses that you pay for your cars, health insurance, Netflix, Spotify, Hulu, etc. Sounds a bit overwhelming. And that brings me back to my point. I do not know how people are out here surviving. This just shows that one income is not enough to survive. And if you're not saving or investing the amount that you have left at the end of every month, I'm honestly scared for you. I was in the exact same position as you where I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was paying all my bills and almost had nothing left. It's not a way to live, and it literally frustrates me because people do not realize the trap that they're in. I knew it was an absolute necessity for me to find another stream of income, figure out a way for my money to make more money. That's when I came across network marketing and copy trading. Both of these opportunities gave me an opportunity to walk away from a 9-to-5. The best part of it is there's no cap on how much I can make. Basically, what copy and paste trading is that you get trade signals sent to your phone. You get these as a notification, and all you have to do is copy and paste 2 numbers. This is so beginner friendly. You don't need to have any experience in trading at all. I got tired of working for another man's dream. I started using this to be the vehicle that could fund my dreams.
With rising costs and stagnant wages, people have had to get creative to survive. Here's how: cutting costs and budgeting. Many families are switching to store brands, meal prepping, and using coupons to save on groceries. Some are even skipping meals to stretch their budget. Utilities have become a major expense, so people are cutting back on heating and electricity use, using energy efficient appliances, and even moving in with families to save rent. Taking on side hustle, freelancing, gig economy jobs like Uber and DoorDash, and selling goods online have become ways to supplement income. But the downside is that many of these jobs lack stability, healthcare benefits, and proper wages. Relying on community support, food banks, mutual aid groups, and crowdfunding are seeing record participation. More people are seeking government assistance, like food stamps, but even those programs have limitations, protesting and demanding change. Workers are pushing for higher wages, rent control, and better labor protections. More people are voting for policies that address wage inequality and house affordability. At the end, what can be done? Government and corporations have the power to ease this crisis, but real change won't happen unless the people demand it. Possible solutions include raising the minimum wage to match inflation, strengthening rent control policies, reducing corporate price gouging, expanding access to affordable health care and education. Individuals can take action by supporting fair wage businesses, educating themselves on financial management, and advocating for systemic change. The cost of living crisis isn't just a phase, it's a major economic shift that's impacting millions. But while people are struggling, they're also finding ways to fight back. The real question is, how can people keep surviving before something gives? What do you think? Drop a comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye.